This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everyone. We've talked to life coaches before here on the program. She's very different, as I'm learning, and we're going to dig into that in terms of her approach and who she helps. And part of that is works with blended families, works with people that have challenges with their spirituality, also even people dealing with mental health issues and such. And she's going to give you some good insight today. Paula Meadows Mason is on the program. How are you doing today?
Outstanding. How are you, Steve?
Very well, very well. You're different. You really are in terms of what you offer. I don't know any life coach would say, yeah, I work with a lot of blended families. Let's be honest, with the divorce rate being so high, at least 50% now.
Yes.
There's a lot of blended families going on. And with that, there's a lot of challenges within. Let's go right there out of the gate. What do you hear from people you work with in terms of the challenges and the dynamics within blended families?
I think the biggest thing that I hear from people that come with me with blended challenges is that it's so different from a nuclear family. They're really surprised at how, once we remarry, we love each other, we bring the kids together. They just kind of think that, there'll be an adjustment period, but then eventually we'll all just kind of gel together and work it out. And unfortunately, that's not usually the case.
I get what you're saying.
Right.
I have friends that have been through this.
Yes.
And, relationship for a long time, two people. And of course, they have kids on each side.
Yes.
And got their kids together who are in their teens. And one would think, this could be okay. Sometimes it's going to be, maybe a little uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work. It just didn't work. It wasn't a fit. And now their kids aren't connected, but at least they gave it a try. I give them that. They gave it a try. There maybe if there was some coaching involved, maybe that would have been, the outcome might have been different, right?
It might have been, but honestly, with the coaching part of it, there's just so many moving dynamics of, will it work? Will it not work? One of the biggest negatives that I've found is that the older the children are, when you try to blend, the harder it is. It's harder on the kids. It's harder on the relationship. And in a lot of cases, it's harder on the other parent.
Wow.
The outside parent. Yeah.
I have to ask this because I'm very curious here. So ages of children, blending the family together. Mm-hmm. Younger seems reasonable. They just want to have fun. As long as they feel love and there's fun there, we're good.
Yeah.
Tween teens, I see that being a challenge, like you're describing, and that was for a friend of mine.
Yes.
When they're older, let's say, 18, 19, in their 20s, does it potentially get easier, or it's the same kind of situation? It can still be a challenge.
It can still be a challenge. Again, first, there's just so many reasons why that can still be a challenge. If the kids are still living at home,
yep.
If the parent and the child are particularly close, I would say overly close. If there's still a lot of guilt there, particularly with the parent, and that's another thing I see a lot is the guilt of the divorce. Oftentimes parents will try to compensate with their kid, and overindulge and just not kind of keep that clear boundary of, I'm the parent, you're the child, but this is also my new significant other. But yeah, it really just kind of depends on the adult child and where's that parent-child relationship go. Some adult children are like, I may not like it, but as long as you're happy, I'm good. And others will make it very difficult.
And then, of course, if it's a recent divorce type situation, there could be animosity between, parents on one side. And there's a lot of different dynamics.
It is.
It must be challenging for you when you work with somebody, especially in the blended family situation, You got to get all the pieces to the puzzle. It's almost like, you're a CSI investigator going on a fact-finding mission to really understand what's going on so you can help somebody, right?
That's true. My blended intake is several pages long because
Blended intake. Oh my
yes,
gosh.
I do. I actually created a very unique intake form because I could not find a intake form that gave me all the pieces of the puzzle that I needed. It there's just so many things you have to consider. Do the children live with you? Do they are they there part-time? Are they out of state? What is the relationship like with the other co-parent?
Wow.
It's just there's so many layers.
We're going to talk about some of the other things that you support people with. Before we even get there,
Mhm.
I have to ask Paula, what brought you to coaching? What inspired you to want to help people and kind of figure life out?
Well, I mean, I'm a mental health counselor by trade. But with that, because I'm only licensed in Virginia, it restricts me to only doing mental health counseling in Virginia. But with coaching, um, it's the rules are a little more relaxed as long as I'm not dealing with somebody who has a what I would call an active mental illness. We have people that deal with a lot of depression and anxiety. Unfortunately, that's pretty common these days.
Yeah.
But as long as they're properly medicated and they're not, suicidal, anything like that, self-harm, then I could come in and I can teach them, coping skills, communication skills, how to, assess a relationship, how to end a relationship, stuff like that, that might actually make those situations better. But I don't actually treat that part of it.
Why? And I've heard that for a number of years, especially since COVID, that the number of people dealing with anxiety and depression has really escalated.
Mhm.
Why do you think that is?
Honestly, I think it's just that we are so busy as a society, and there's so many demands on our time and our energy and our resources that there's this unspoken pressure that we should be able to do it all and do it all well all the time. And I just don't
Mm.
think we were built that way. I think, there's a great deal of importance in balance. I'm a big philosophy of you work hard, you play hard.
Mm.
There has to be time for, relaxation. There has to be time for family and friends. And, if you're a religious person, time to spend with God and serving with your church. So I think it's really just because we don't have balance anymore.
That's a big deal. And
It is.
especially if you came from parents who worked hard and then their parents worked hard. And as you go back, there was like economic trouble back in the day. And now
Mhm.
you're programmed to just keep working, just keep working, just keep working. Fortunately, younger generation now, people in their 20s, they're not having it. I'm not working hard. Just, I am going to work, but
Right.
there's got to be that balance. And I believe it even came with Google in California around 2012-ish, where they started offering their employees a free gym, a wonderful cafeteria, all on us, childcare, all of that. Totally different way of life. I don't think we realize how we're beating on ourselves by working so hard. Is it really making you more money? Is it really the best quality of life? Do you think that we don't know it any other way, really?
Unfortunately, I think you nailed it right on the head. We don't know any other way. It's like this rat race of
Yeah.
who can spin who can spin the fastest, who can run the farthest, who can get the most done. But at the end of the day, are we really happy with the results?
Yeah.
A lot of my clients say no.
I think in music, I've been playing music on the radio literally since I was a kid, and I still do. And
Mhm.
songs pop in, and I've listened to this song, basically what we're talking about here, probably 30 times in the last 2 days. I don't know what it is. I'm listening to the lyrics. It's called Ants Marching, Dave Matthews Band. And it was a big hit mid 90s, but it's what we're talking about. It's where like ants marching every day, working hard, working hard, working hard. And one of the lines, the chorus is, take these chances, put them in a box for a quieter time. Lights down, we up and die. So basically, what they're saying is we're all so busy. So all those things, all those dreams, all those hopes, maybe things that you should have used a coach for, you put them in a little box and you say, "Yeah, when everything is quiet and settles down, I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to do those things, but not right now because I'm really so busy." And then life is over.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're talking about here, where you need to take those chances and embrace it. Don't throw it in a box for a quieter time. The quieter time may be when you're in the ground. Yes,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
What are some of the other things you support people with when it comes to coaching?
A lot of relationships.
Mm,
Yeah. Whether that's marital relationships. I'm actually seeing a lot of parent-child relationships right now,
wow.
like adult children and parents. Um,
Mm,
yeah, so that's been quite a bit of those. A lot of single parents, just trying to find the balance with that because that's very, very hard to kind of work around, support a household, support your child, support yourself. Yeah, so pretty much anything you could think of, I've probably coached on it.
why do you think that there's more need now for coaching between a parent and their child? Call it adult children.
Hmm.
Do you think it's because that more children are living with their parents now?
Yes, yes. I know when I was coming up, and I'm 51. So when I was coming up, once you graduated from high school, you had a few options. You got a job, you went to college, you went to
Yeah.
the military, you went to a trade school. But this just kind of staying at home, chilling and kind of mooching off mom and dad was just not an option. But unfortunately, we see a lot of that now. These kids are very comfortable staying home until they're 22, 23, you know. And I think in a lot of ways, we've overcompensated
Mm.
for the way we grew up. We didn't grow up with, a lot of us didn't grow up with, the extras, the brand name clothes, a car at 16 and, different things that I know I'm guilty of trying to compensate that with my kids.
Yeah, guilty as charged.
Right, right. So it's like, I think we overcompensated, and now we have these kids that are very entitled. They feel
Mm.
like the world owes them, and we should not expect anything in return.
And what comes with that from the parent animosity? You enabled them,
Yes,
and now there's animosity coming back. And
yes,
then where's my thank you? You just, maybe you're not feeling that from your child. Yeah, I can see it.
yeah. It's definitely a vicious cycle, and it's a really painful cycle to have to break because it is a form of codependency. And so, anytime you're having to address that, whoever changes the rules, and usually in this case it's the parent, and they start, laying down some boundaries and some expectations, then pretty much all hell breaks loose because now it's
Mm.
like, how dare you? Like, the kid was getting the best end of the deal, and now you're changing the rules. And so, yeah, there's usually a great fallout from that.
I could see that. It's almost
Yeah.
as if, my whole world has changed because my parent says I have to pay rent now. What are you kidding? I'm not
Right.
working and I can't work because insert excuse, whatever it might
Right.
be.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
What would you say was, and it's all confidential, but the most challenging coaching situation that maybe you were confronted helping somebody with in terms of dynamics or things that were going on? Anything that stands out for you?
I would say my biggest challenges are when one of the partners is a narcissist.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
definitely the biggest challenge because I don't know how much you know about a narcissist personality, but it's never their fault. It's always the other person's fault. There's no accountability, there's no remorse, there's no correction of behavior. It's just like they come in and they want me to fix their partner.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, okay. That's a challenge.
It is
In
very
my
much.
uh I guess, learning and or experience with people that could be labeled a narcissist.
Mhm.
Um, do they come in with that person, or a lot of times they don't, and now you have to help somebody deal with them?
It's about 50-50. A lot of
Yeah.
times the narcissist will bring in the partner and,
Oh,
explain,
wow.
yeah, explain how their partner doesn't do this and do that, blah, 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 blah. And basically,
Mm.
know, when I try to get them to engage, okay, well, what's going on with you? What part do you play in this? Oh, well, it's not really me, it's them. So it's a very clear deflection of the other partner. And then a lot of times the dependent person, the person that's dependent on that strong personality, will come in and they're just completely lost on how to respond, how to handle, how to cope. And so a lot of times I'll just work with them on building up their self-esteem and their self-confidence so that they are able to start standing up for themselves.
What's your advice for somebody listening or watching who has pretty much identified that the person they're with or the person in their life is a narcissist? What's the best way to handle those situations?
Honestly, there's not a best case scenario because
Mm,
with a narcissist, unless they actually recognize that they're a narcissist and they are willing to change, that's a personality that was set
mm.
back when they were like 5, you
I've
know.
often heard um, when you're in that situation, it's go with the facts. You have to go with the facts because they're always going to be looking for a gray area. Facts are
Mhm.
facts. Oh, really? Oh, well, here's the text. You said it. You sent it. Here you go. Um, what do you thought? What are your thoughts on that? I don't know if that works, but that's what I've heard.
Um, I don't see that it works because
Mm.
I have confronted many a narcissist in the sessions,
Wow.
and it will still make an excuse as, well, they made me say that, or your
Um,
context, or I only did this because they did
Enough said.
that.
Yeah, but on the plus side, I'm sure it helps the non-narcissist identify what's going on there, um, and make whatever the decision is going to be, continue with the relationship or how to at least understand. Like you might be looking at like, what is going on with us? I don't understand. Oh, it's a narcissist. Now
Right.
it makes sense.
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Do you have a lot of those moments when you work with people, Paula, where it's like an aha moment, a eureka moment where things come clear?
I have a lot of those.
Mm.
I have a lot of those. I would like to think I'm pretty perception as far as for people. I'm pretty good at reading people. I can usually get a good read on people the second session in, you know.
Hmm.
So a lot of things that, even a person will say one thing, but I'm like, yeah, that's not what they mean.
All right. That being said, and thank you for bringing that up because I have to ask this question.
Sure.
Do you feel that there you have? I believe we're all intuitive. Some of
Mhm.
us a little bit more than others. We're able to block other things out and focus. Do you find that you use intuition to do what you just said to kind of get a feel for the situation so that you can properly work with somebody?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Wow. Um, we're going to get in future shows a little bit deeper here, but spirituality is another thing that you help people navigate, learn, realize. Tell us about that.
Well, I'm an ordained minister and I serve in my church. I know just from my own personal experience, I have encountered what people generally call church hurt, which is really a negative encounter with someone within the church.
Hmm.
It's usually unexpected. Um, there's usually not any kind of remorse, or it's not ever even addressed at all. A lot of times that could put a damper on a person's perspective of, you know, their relationship with the church, even their relationship with God.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I will just kind of, listen to them, validate, kind of try to get the picture, discern certain things, and give them a different perspective of could it have been this, could have been that, and remind them that people are fallible, but God is not, and try to get them to understand that the two are not always simultaneously connected.
And when somebody is involved in a situation where it's church hurt, is it just could it just be a random person that's in church with you, or maybe a church group? Is it somebody who's a member of the congregation? Or it could be both?
Usually it's a member of the congregation, which is why it usually hurts so much. It's often a member of a small group that they're in.
Mm.
It might be the pastor's wife or even the pastor themselves.
Yep. Yep. Do you feel when those situations kick in that it's ego? There's a lot of ego going on there.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yep. I know what you're talking about. I'm not being negative here, but I've seen it. I've observed. I've changed churches. I just wanted a different feeling.
Mhm.
But just as an observer, I would see there are some people maybe that are set in their ways and come on very strong. This is the way it needs to be. It's the only way, and aren't flexible. And then others can be offended by that. So I can see what you're talking about. It's, it's sad because if you internalize it as the other person, it can hurt because you're there to have a connection, and
Right.
it's almost like a bad connection. The wires are bad, and
Right. Exactly.
something gets in the way of your connection to a higher being. Fascinating that you offer that in terms of your coaching, because again, not a lot of coaches actually talk and focus on things like blended families, narcissists, spirituality. Um, what was the pinnacle moment for you that said, Paula, you're going to be I want to help people. I want to be a life coach. What finally clicked in you?
Well, I was always that friend that everybody kind of came and confided in anyway. I was like that from a small child. And it just always was a theme throughout my life. So I just decided to kind of make it official,
Mm,
and really drawn into blended families because I grew up in a blended family.
yep.
My last relationship was a blended family, and I'm currently in a blended family. So I think it gives me a unique perspective of all the different challenges
Sure.
that go on in a blended family.
You walk the walk and talk the talk.
I do.
You really do. Yeah. I'm going to say
do.
one other thing, and you could say no, but I detect that you're an empath. Would you say so?
A what?
An empath?
I guess you could say that. I mean, I don't ever really thought about putting a label on it.
Well, here's the thing. You want to help people. You
Mhm.
feel what they feel. I've
Mhm.
always been the person that calls other people out. I think you're an empath. Do you realize that? Until I took a strength assessment test, and out of 34 strengths,
Yeah.
my first one is communication. Duh, that's what I do.
Right.
My second strength was empathy. I'm like, what? What? So
I can see that. I
I
can see
bet
that.
you are an empath, though. I can feel it, just from your energy and wanting to help others and connecting. Exactly what you said before, where you hear something, you're like, no, that's not right. That's you're getting something else from that person.
Yeah.
Mm,
Well, that I guess that's a blessing and a curse, depending on
yes, it
what
is.
what end of that you want to look at it. But I think it's absolutely necessary. My
Mm,
people come to get my expert advice, and they pay good money to
mhm.
have my services. My assessment is pretty simple. You know, I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to beat around the bush because, you're here to work. So as long as you're here to work, I'm here to work.
Yep. And final thought on all of that, and thank you for saying that W word. Everything is work.
It is.
Everything is work. I've said it before, even making plans on the weekend with your friends. Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Who's driving? What time? And all of that. It's work. Let's be honest. It's work. Getting the family together. We're going to do something on Saturday. What are we doing? It's great fun work, but it's work involved, as is working on yourself and your situation. You got to put the work in if you want a positive outcome.
Absolutely.
Part of it. Yeah. Paula, how do we find you? What's the best way to reach you?
Well, you can reach me on my work cell. So that's 804-404-7135. And you can also text me on that. Or you can visit my website at coachingwithgi.wixsite, wixsite.com/Paula Meadows Mason.
Got it. And your phone number again, probably the maybe even the easiest thing to remember. What's that?
804-404-7135.
Gotcha. Great talking with you. Great meeting you. Love what you do in terms of helping people, and looking forward next time we get together.
Thanks, Steve. Great talking to you.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.